Ladies and gents, boys and girls, YouTube viewers, what's going on? This is Intergalactic Brew, and I am here to give you all my UFC on Fox 5 predictions. Now, of course, we know that about the three main events, as I would describe them, the three main events. But I also want to talk about some other fights on the card, so if y'all give me 1 second here. Alright, here we go. Alright, here we go. First fight I want to talk about is Mike the Quick Swick, or Quick Swick, facing off against Matt the Immortal Brown. Now, I think this is a very good matchup stylistically between these two. We know what Mike Swick brings to the dance. We know what Matt Brown brings to the dance. I think the question in this fight is whose skills will reveal themselves the most. I think that's going to be the question about this fight. But it should be a great contest at welterweight. We know Mike Swick, deadly knockout power, lightning fast. I call his punching style, or his striking style, machine gun. He's got those machine gun combos because they just all come at you simultaneously, and it's only so many of them you can dodge. And he's going to want to look to do that against Matt Brown. But what Matt Brown has to do is, I think he has to take this fight to the ground. Mike Swick did show some weakness in the grappling against DeMarcus Johnson. DeMarcus Johnson was able to take Mike Swick down for the first round of their fight, and he was able to keep him there for most of the fight, and he almost submitted Mike Swick. He got the mount position, did some good damage on top with the ground and pound, even lacerated Mike Swick a little bit. So yeah, I definitely think if Matt Brown can kind of simulate that strategy to what DeMarcus Johnson did, he should have success against Mike Swick. I don't think that Matt Brown needs to stay in the center of the octagon with Mike Swick. That's where he's his most dangerous. Mike Swick has very good kickboxing skills, good leg kicks, knows how to set his punches up, uses the jab very well, moves around, extremely light on his feet. So I think what Matt Brown has to do from the get-go, I think he has to bury Mike Swick against the fence, you know, make him work, make him exhaust most of that oxygen and that air in his lungs, make him fight for everything that he wants. And I think he just has to make it an ugly, you know, a tiring fight for Swick. He needs to take. He eventually needs to get this fight to the ground. Does Matt Brown? Matt Brown is a well-rounded fighter, but I think what has been Matt Brown's mistake over the past couple of years recently is he hasn't been able to take advantage of his opponent's weaknesses. I think he's tried to engage in his opponent's strengths and not expose his weaknesses, and I think that's what's led to this losing streak he's been on. So if he can rebound here as far as that goes, I think he's got a good chance of pulling off the upset against Mike Swick. I mean, it's not a big upset, but it'd be just like a minor upset, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, you know what, how I see this fight going and who I think is going to win the fight, I'm going to go ahead and give this to Mike Swick. You know, I've put a lot of faith in Matt Brown in some fights, you know, and he's just basically let me down off of something stupid that he did, you know, simple mistakes that veterans like him don't make, you know. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna pick Mike Quick Swick to win this. I think he wins it by knockout. You know, I think Matt Brown tries to play the hero and tries to put himself in danger by standing with Mike Swick you know, letting that competitive ego get the best of him, and I think Mike Swick eventually catches him. I'm gonna say I'd probably say like I'd probably say late first round knockout. I mean, I could be wrong. He could knock him out in the second round, because Matt Brown is tough. Give him credit, he is tough. But I just don't think he can handle Mike Swick's hand speed or just his overall striking skills altogether. So I'm gonna pick Mike Swick, like I said, late first round. I'll go with TKO. I'll go with TKO. Okay, now getting down to the first of the triple main events on UFC on Fox. This is from Seattle, Washington too, by the way, just in case you didn't know the location. But this next fight is very, very interesting, and I don't think it's so much who's going to be the next contender in the welterweight division. I think this is more of a grudge match. This is more of a matter of bragging rights and respect and pride, and you know, just a personal fight, so to speak. But it's BJ Penn, the Prodigy, who is one of my personal favorites, going up against the guy that I've been really impressed with ever since he's debuted in the UFC, and that is Rory. I think he calls himself Aries McDonald. I think I'm saying that correctly. If I'm not, excuse me. But yeah, this is a real big fight for Rory McDonald as it is for BJ Penn. You know, I think both guys coming into this fight have a lot to prove. I think that people would say BJ Penn's back is up against the wall. A lot of people would say if BJ Penn does not win this fight, that it should be retirement time permanently for the Prodigy. And Roy McDonald has really been beating his chest a lot lately. Not literally, but figuratively. You know, he's coming out, you know, talking a lot of trash. You know, he's had some bold words for the Prodigy. You know, he's saying that his time has passed, as, you know, a lot of the younger talent are going to say about the older talent. You know, he said he's fighting for the wrong reasons. He said he shouldn't have come back. He should have stayed retired. You know, this is real personal between these two, and that's what you want. That's what I like. You know, that's what makes a fight a lot better. You know, is if there's like some personal vendettas between the two opponents. But looking at the fight just from a fight standpoint, I think BJ Penn probably just needs to be smarter than Roy McDonald, because BJ Penn has well-rounded skills. We all know his jiu-jitsu pedigree. We know his striking pedigree. So I think it's not a matter of BJ needs to get this fight this place. I think he just needs to be smart, and if he sees an opportunity to take a fight a certain way, then he needs to go ahead and take advantage of that. Roy McDonald, on the other hand, I think Roy McDonald would want to look to knock BJ out. You know, I was just reading something on MMAfighting.com just a few minutes ago, where Roy McDonald was quoting saying he wants to annihilate BJ Penn. Now, we all know that's a lie. Unless Roy McDonald is really bout it like that. If his balls are really that big, and if he's really bout it like that, that he's going to come out aggressively and just try to bum rush BJ Penn. He's stupid. I mean, we all know this trickery of, you know, people say one thing and do another. I mean, it never fails. But anyway, Roy McDonald's going to want to look to knock BJ out. And I think that would be a mistake. I think Roy McDonald would be best trying to out-wrestle BJ Penn. That's how George St. Pierre was able to win both of their fights. And ironically, Roy McDonald trains with GSP, so I'm sure GSP has been practicing and drilling Roy McDonald on taking BJ down, dominating from the mount position, dropping elbows, you know, ground and pound, all that stuff. So I really don't believe that Roy McDonald's going to want to come out and like knock BJ out. But then again, he could, you know. And I think a lot of people are counting BJ out. You know, I really think that's wrong. I mean, I'm not trying to, you know, sound like a super supporter of BJ Penn, even though he is one of my favorite UFC fighters. I just think that, you know, I think people are forgetting who Roy McDonald is fighting here. I mean, this is BJ Penn we're talking about. This kid was the youngest, one of the youngest champions in UFC history. I mean, he was for a long time the best lightweight in the world. In my opinion, I still believe he is the greatest lightweight, even though, you know, he may have, you know, kind of withered in his career a little bit. You know, I still believe he's the greatest lightweight of all time. So, so yeah, I think people forget about that, about BJ. You know, BJ is a legend. You know, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame here pretty soon, if not sooner. You know, and people forget that he won 2 championships in 2 separate weight classes. So, you know, I think it's wrong. What I'm not going to say is wrong, because, I mean, trash talking is good, but I think it's disrespectful that Roy McDonald's ego is kind of taking over him, that he is naive to not respect what BJ has done in the sport. So, you know, I think that, you know, Roy McDonald might be getting a little too ahead of himself. You know, I mean, he's letting all these people, you know, get in his ear, saying that, you know, he's one of the up-and-comers in the welterweight division, which he is. You know, he's one of the hottest young stars in the UFC, which he is. You know, and then he's got Mike Ricci with him, you know, showing him, you know, the nightlife. You know, got him dressing all fresh and hanging out with women and all that other stuff. I mean, that's cool and everything, but you can't let that stuff get to your head when it comes time to fight, because you are fighting a legend. I mean, this man has been there and done that. Roy McDonald is trying to get to where BJ is. So, you know, I think it's just kind of disrespectful. He's coming out, you know, disrespecting him, saying that, you know, he's fighting for the wrong reasons. He shouldn't have come back. You know, his time has passed and stuff like that. You know, he's just thinking that BJ Penn is just going to be a pothole in the street that he's just going to be able to walk over. And that's not going to be the case. You know, and I think that's why Roy McDonald is going to lose this fight, I believe. Because I believe that, you know, that ego is just going to, you know, get the best of him. And I think, you know, he's going to, you know, be reckless. And I think he's going to do some things that he shouldn't have done. And I think it's going to end up costing him. You know. And I think this is going to happen standing up. I think this is going to happen standing up. Although I do think that BJ can submit Roy McDonald. But Roy McDonald, to give him credit, he is a talented fighter. He's a well-rounded fighter. He's got equal skills standing and on the ground. And I think if BJ went to the ground with Roy, no disrespect to BJ Penn, but we really haven't seen BJ submit anybody off of his back. You know, BJ doesn't have good jiu-jitsu from his back, at least from what I've seen. So I think Roy McDonald would have the advantage if the fight went to the ground. But what BJ does have is great takedown defense. So I think he'll be able to stuff Roy McDonald's takedowns. I think he'll be able to keep the fight standing. And tell you the truth, as good as Roy McDonald is striking, I don't think his boxing is better than BJ's. I think BJ still has the boxing. I think he just has to, you know, have a lot of confidence in it. And I think he just has to impose his will standing. And I think that's what he'll do. I'm not saying it'll be a quick knockout, but I think he will TKO Roy McDonald. And I think it'll happen somewhere late in the second round. So I'm going BJ Penn, late second round TKO. But, you know, like I said, if Roy McDonald can impose the wrestling, the way that George St. Pierre is training him to do and get BJ on his back, I think Roy McDonald will win the fight. Because like I said, we haven't seen BJ submit anybody off of his back, and he's not very good off his back. Frankie Edgar put him there twice. GSP put him there twice. So, you know, I don't trust BJ on his back unless BJ takes Roy down, which could happen. But anyway, I'm going with BJ Penn, late second round TKO. Alright, next fight. This is another fight that I'm looking forward to. Mauricio Shogun Rua, another one of my favorites. Well, both of these guys are my favorites. Mauricio Shogun Rua, Alexander Gustafsson, the Mauler. I think this fight is really going to show what Gustafsson is made of. I think this is probably the biggest fight of his career, no doubt about it. I know Shogun is going to want to come out and make a statement and prove that he's still a relevant name in the light heavyweight division and still a top contender to the light heavyweight title. So the stakes are really, really high in this fight. I think the person who wins this fight automatically launches themselves in that contender pool. So, yeah, this is a very important fight. I know everybody is saying, like, yeah, these are two strikers and this is going to be, you know, a striking fight for the most part, but I don't really think so. I think this is going to be a well-rounded fight. I think Alexander Gustafsson is smart enough to know that Mauricio Rua is vulnerable to getting taken down and getting put on his back. So I think he'll be looking to expose that about Mauricio Shogun Rua. And I think Mauricio has good enough takedown defense to stuff Gustafsson's takedowns. I actually think that Rua is the better striker in this fight. I know Gustafsson's boxing and kickboxing is good, but I think Shogun is more technical than Gustafsson, and I think he'll be able to you know, just be a step ahead of him standing up. So I think the best thing for Gustafsson to do is to take Shogun down and wear him out. His cardio has not been that good in fights. I mean, I'm just speaking, you know, honestly. Dan Henderson took him down multiple times. I mean, we know the story about Shogun and his you know, wrestling defense and getting taken down and all that stuff. But you know, I think that I think this fight is going to end in a finish. I say this is going to go all 3 rounds. I say, you know, it's going to be you know, it's going to be an exciting fight. You know, Alexander Gustafsson's going to have his moments where he might rock Shogun and vice versa with Shogun. But I think in the end, just because I think Shogun is a little tougher and he's been in those wars and he shows that he can survive and win, I think that's why I'm going to pick Shogun in this fight. You know, I say, you know, somehow he withstands the punishment that Alexander Gustafsson's going to give him, and I think he comes back and pulls off a breathtaking 3rd round knockout or TKO. So I'm going to go Shogun 3rd round TKO. Now I'm going to end this video here, but I will make another video in a short breaking down the main event between Henderson and Diaz. So y'all stay tuned for that. But until then, I'm gone. 2 fingers.